Greetings, YouTube. A while back, I discussed a school lunch program that had refused to feed students whose parents had failed to recharge their lunch account. And not only had they refused to feed them, but they'd actually taken the food away from the children when they discovered that they weren't, their accounts were empty, and thrown it away in front of them. So it was an act of unabased cruelty. Well, there's a corollary to this story. It seems that as part of that process, they decided that instead of just taking the food away from them, because that did get them some bad press, that they were going to shame the children. That when the child didn't have the appropriate fundage, that the child would get a stamp on their hand, and they would be given a cheese sandwich. And that way the entire school cafeteria would know that they're poor. This is a poor person here, folks. Right there, it's on their hand, designating that they are poor. And they only got a cheese sandwich, which is not an appropriate lunch for a child. But I guess it's better than having your lunch taken away from you and thrown away. Now, the principal of this school, Noel Roney, was upset at this. Did not want this to be the policy. This is back in September. And ordered the cafeteria staff to not do this. Also discovered that apparently this stamp was being given to the students who had access to actual free lunches. So students who actually were on a program that gave them access to free lunches were also getting the stamp and a cheese sandwich. To me, that sounds like corruption and that someone was pocketing the money. And instead of actually feeding the students the lunches that the school program paid them for, or paid for, the students were being given a cheese sandwich and having their hand stamped. Again, to show everyone, this is a poor person. Poor person. Make sure that our class distinctions are sharp. Poor people, not poor people. Star-bellied sneeches and not star-bellied sneeches. The principal complained. The director of the cafeteria quit. Apologize, apparently I have a stiffy nose today. And she was reprimanded for the fact that this person quit. Now, she got reprimanded because someone quit because they would not stop endorsing a program that the principal told them to stop. Which makes me think that the person that resigned was complicit in some kind of corruption. They knew they had gotten caught and they left. Now, I have no proof of this. But the series of events here sounds really interesting. Not giving kids part of a program that they had access to. Resigning after you've been caught doing this. And then the principal getting reprimanded. It makes me think that that person has some kind of pull somewhere. And then in November, this principal of 8 years was fired. Now, we don't know if it was all connected. But the series of events does lead one to believe that there is a connection. Particularly when, if you continue reading the article, that other schools in the district have had a policy like this in place, shaming students and giving them a cheese sandwich, but it hasn't been implemented in 5 years. So there seems to have been some discretion involved in actually implementing the program. So the principal could have very easily said, don't implement this, stop doing this, and it would have been all right. The other schools are doing it. So if it's being ignored in other schools, why isn't it being ignored here? Oh, because this is a for-profit charter school. And this school is all about money and not about education. Well, I guess this is a form of education if you think about it. The students are being educated that there are poor people and there are not poor people. And you have to label the poor people. You got to make sure that they're publicly shamed. You got to make sure that it's easily told just by glancing around the room, that dot on their hand, that they're poor. So I guess that is an education. It's an education in how to acquire a stigma, about how to ostracize a member of your society at large. It's an education in about how to make sure that social structures have nice, clearly defined stratas. So I guess that is a lesson. It's an abysmal lesson. It's a nauseating lesson. It's a lesson that leads directly to the idea of bricks being thrown through shop windows and of camps being opened where you're told that no, hard work will set you free. This nauseates me. Not just the cheese sandwiches, but the fact that anyone in a school, public or private, would stamp a child's hand so that everyone would be able to tell that they were poor. Besides the fact I'm completely and utterly opposed to the very idea of charter schools. If you'd like to send your child to a private school, have at it. Do not use public funds to fund private schools. That's not how it should be done. And this is an example of why it shouldn't be done. Charter schools are funneling public tax dollars, my tax dollars, into the pockets of private corporations, which is not where I want my tax dollars to go. I want my tax dollars going into public schools. I know I'm radical like that. So here we have an example of an abysmal policy, shaming children, ostracizing them, giving them a stigma, all in the name of saving a few cents and cheating children out of food. I'm sure that Ayn Rand would be proud